Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving into a story that doesn't get nearly enough attention online: the history of American cities. While there are countless history videos out there, very few focus on the origins of specific cities in the United States. One city with an especially fascinating past is Phoenix. The city of Phoenix history is often overlooked, yet it's full of unique stories, surprising beginnings, and a deep cultural legacy. The history of Arizona as a whole may not always sound as dramatic as World War II or other global events, but it's every bit as intriguing, especially when you look at the characters, struggles, and innovations that shaped Phoenix. That's why today, we are going to explore how this desert city rose from humble beginnings into the thriving capital we know today. Our story begins in 1862, in the New Mexico territory of the United States. Here we meet Jack Swilling, a man from South Carolina who had just deserted the Confederate Army. His journey would unexpectedly lead him to the Salt River Valley, where the foundation for Phoenix would eventually be laid. To really understand the city of Phoenix history, we need to look first at its geography. The Salt River Valley covers roughly 500 square miles, sitting north of the modern Mexican border and east of California, right in the heart of the Sonoran Desert. This harsh landscape is home to two key rivers, the Gila River and the Salt River. Fed by streams from the Rocky Mountains to the northeast, these rivers brought life-giving water to an otherwise arid land. Yet the story of Phoenix doesn't start with settlers in the 1800s, it stretches much further back. For thousands of years, indigenous peoples traveled through the valley, but few truly settled until the arrival of the Hohokam people. Believed to have migrated north from Mexico, the Hohokam recognized the potential of the valley's rivers. They began constructing vast irrigation canals to expand fertile farmland, creating a sophisticated agricultural society. These canals allowed their settlements to grow, turning the Salt River Valley into a thriving hub of life in the middle of the desert. In many ways, it was a smaller-scale version of ancient Egypt, complete with a river-fed civilization, though without sea access or crocodiles. The ingenuity of the Hohokam set the stage for all who would come after them, and their legacy still runs beneath the foundations of Phoenix today. And that's just the beginning of the city of Phoenix history. Los Angeles Lakers history, from Minneapolis to NBA glory. The Los Angeles Lakers are one of the most iconic franchises in basketball history. Based in Los Angeles, they compete in the National Basketball Association, NBA, as part of the Pacific Division in the Western Conference. Today, the Lakers call the Crypto.com Arena their home, sharing it with the Los Angeles Sparks of the WNBA and the Los Angeles Kings of the NHL. With 17 NBA championships, the Lakers stand as one of the most successful teams in the league, tied with their legendary rivals, the Boston Celtics. The story of the Los Angeles Lakers history begins in 1946, when the franchise was first founded as the Detroit Gems in the National Basketball League, NBL. After only one season, new ownership moved the team to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they became the Minneapolis Lakers. The team name paid tribute to Minnesota's nickname, Land of 10,000 Lakes. Success came quickly. The Lakers won the 1948 NBL championship and soon joined the rival Basketball Association of America, BAA. In 1949, they captured the BAA championship, and later that year, the NBL and BAA merged to form the modern NBA. During the early years of the league, the Lakers dominated, winning 4 championships in just 5 seasons. However, by the late 1950s, financial struggles and declining attendance began to weigh heavily on the franchise. In 1960, the Lakers made a bold move, relocating to Los Angeles. This relocation marked the start of a new era, one that would eventually shape the Lakers into a global basketball powerhouse. One of the most fascinating aspects of the city of Phoenix history goes back to the Hohokam people, the original builders of the Salt River Valley's Great Canal networks. At their height, the Hohokam built an advanced society that thrived in the desert, but like many civilizations, they faced internal and environmental challenges. Historians believe that by the 1500s, a combination of severe droughts, environmental shifts, and even social unrest may have caused their downfall. Some speculate that rising wealth inequality created deep divisions, leading to internal conflict and violence. Eventually, their once flourishing culture collapsed. While their descendants live on today, much of their history, and the exact reasons for their decline, remain a mystery. What was left behind were their remarkable artifacts and a massive system of canals that stretched across the entire valley, a foundation that future settlers would later rediscover and use. After the fall of the Hohokam, the valley entered a quieter chapter during the Spanish and Mexican eras. For centuries, it remained largely unsettled, with only scattered communities. In fact, by the early 1800s, much of the Arizona region was in decline due to disease and conflict. One of the most significant forces during this time were the Apache people. The Apaches fiercely defended their lands, relentlessly raiding neighboring tribes, Mexican settlements, and later, American settlers. Leaders such as Cochise and the warrior Mangus Calahadas emerged as powerful figures in this turbulent period. Cochise was known for his uncompromising resistance, while Mangus Calahadas stood out as a different kind of leader. Mangus's story is especially compelling. Though he fought against American miners after being attacked, he was not as bloodthirsty as many of his contemporaries. After surviving a musket shot to the chest, Mangus Calahadas even attempted to negotiate peace with the U.S. military, seeking common ground despite years of violence. Tragically, his efforts ended in betrayal. Captured during a peace talk, he was executed, and his skull taken for study, a grim reminder of the brutal realities of that era. By the 1860s, the stage was set for major change. The United States was on the brink of the Civil War, and Arizona, along with the Salt River Valley, was about to be swept up in a new wave of settlers, soldiers, and visionaries who would eventually lay the foundation for Phoenix itself. By the 1860s, America was racing toward civil war, and change was unfolding rapidly across the Southwest. Despite constant conflict, the Salt River Valley was drawing in newcomers. Americans were trickling into the area, looking for opportunities in mining. Gold, silver, and copper mines began opening, and with them came the promise of wealth. Even as violence persisted, prosperity was beginning to take root in the Arizona territory. This is the moment when two central figures of the city of Phoenix history step onto the stage, Jack Swilling and Darrell Dupper. Jack Swilling was not the kind of polished hero you might expect in a city's origin story. Born John Swilling in the Deep South, he carried with him a troubled past. Swilling battled alcoholism and drug use, lived with a cracked skull from a youthful fight, and even had a bullet lodged permanently in his back. He abandoned his family in search of fortune in the West, writing letters home that promised he would return next year. Those letters eventually stopped, and his wife assumed he was dead. In Arizona, Swilling joined the Gila Rangers, a militia formed to protect settlers from relentless Apache raids. His leadership and experience with the land earned him the role of captain, and it was here that he truly learned the geography of the Salt River Valley. Later, he left the Rangers and dabbled in gold mining, just as the Civil War was beginning in 1861. Swilling's role in the war is somewhat unclear, but what we do know adds an important layer to his story. In the town of Pinos Altos, New Mexico Territory, local men formed a militia and made Swilling a lieutenant because of his experience with the Rangers. When Confederate forces swept through, the militia was pressed into service under the Confederacy. Swilling and his men marched with Confederate troops toward Tucson, which opened its gates to them without resistance. This turbulent period would prove pivotal, not just for Swilling's life, but for the beginnings of Phoenix itself. The skills, experiences, and connections he gained in this era would later set the foundation for the city's birth in the desert. Jack Swilling's Civil War years were full of twists. He and his men may have fought Union soldiers coming in from California, and at one point, they even captured a Union captain whom Swilling later befriended. But when the Confederates lost a key battle in New Mexico, their army was forced into a desperate retreat. Supplies were running low, and Confederate officers ordered Swilling and his men to confiscate food and resources from local families in New Mexico. Jack Swilling refused. These were the very same people he had once defended against Apache raids, and he wouldn't betray them. His refusal led to a falling out with Confederate leadership, and Swilling simply walked away from the army. For a brief time, he even scouted for the Union, but by 1863 his military career had effectively come to an end. Interestingly, Swilling later joined the group that captured Mangus Calahadas, the Apache leader who had tried to make peace with the United States but was betrayed and killed. It's a sad and brutal episode, but it shows just how closely intertwined Swilling's life was with the conflicts of the Southwest. By 1863, Jack Swilling had turned his attention back to gold mining and entrepreneurial ventures. He gathered a group of like-minded men, essentially a roaming band of pioneers, who traveled across Arizona investing, building, and seeking opportunities. It was around this time that Swilling met the second major character in the city of Phoenix history, Philip Darrell Dupper. Dupper was an eccentric Englishman with a colorful past. Born in France, educated at Cambridge, fluent in multiple languages, he was everything Swilling was not. While Jack came from hardship and violence, Dupper was a well-read European adventurer who claimed to have been shipwrecked in South America before wandering his way north to Arizona. When he arrived in Prescott in 1863, he met Swilling, and the two quickly became partners. His refined British accent earned him the nickname Lord Dupper, a title both mocking and affectionate. By 1867, Swilling and Dupper, along with their circle of partners, returned to the Salt River Valley. At first, they joined a small settlement called Hay Camp, founded by a Californian named, believe it or not, John Smith. Here, Swilling had a revelation. Watching how easily water from the Salt River could be diverted into the remnants of the ancient Hohokam canals, he realized the agricultural potential of the valley. It was a light bulb moment. The land that once sustained a great civilization could do so again. Determined to bring this vision to life, Swilling traveled to the mining town of Wickenburg, raised $10,000, and founded the Swilling Irrigation and Canal Company. With the help of mules and workers, he and his team began restoring the old canals and expanding them. Almost immediately, farmers and settlers were drawn to the fertile, irrigated land. What had once been an arid desert began transforming into farmland, attracting people from across the country. This was the spark, the moment when the city of Phoenix history truly began. Out of the desert and the ruins of the Hohokam canals, a new community was being born. As the little settlement along the Salt River grew, it eventually gained its own store and post office, putting it officially on the map. But the pioneers still needed a name for their town. Jack Swilling, despite having little love for the Confederacy after his forced service, suggested the name Stonewall, in honor of Confederate General Stonewall Jackson. The idea didn't sit well with the others. Another settler, Jack Starr, proposed Salina, but that was quickly dismissed because the word meant salt marsh, which wasn't exactly appealing. It was Philip Darrell Dupper, educated in the classics, who proposed the winning name, Phoenix. He saw this new community as a rebirth, rising from the ashes of the long-gone Hohokam civilization. Like the mythical bird of Greek legend, the new town would symbolize renewal and endurance in the desert. The name stuck, and by 1868 newspapers in Prescott were already calling the settlement Phoenix. From there, Phoenix grew quickly. The partnership between Swilling and Dupper eventually soured, especially over the location of the city center. Dupper's vision ultimately won out, and he played a key role in shaping many of the institutions of the young city before his death in 1890, remembered today as one of Phoenix's true founders. Swilling's later years were far more tragic. Though he earned wealth and built a fine home, his lifelong injuries, dependence on alcohol and drugs, and constant pain haunted him. In a final twist of fate, Swilling was falsely accused of robbing a stagecoach. Arrested and thrown into jail, he was cut off from both his medicines and his addictions. The brutal withdrawal weakened him so severely that he died soon after being released. His story ended in hardship, but his role in creating Phoenix would never be forgotten. The small farming community he and Dupper helped to found would continue to grow and thrive. In 1912, Phoenix became the capital of the brand new state of Arizona. Today, it is one of America's largest cities, something that neither Swilling nor Dupper could have imagined. And that's the fascinating beginning of the city of Phoenix history, a tale of vision, conflict, tragedy, and rebirth in the desert. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss more deep dives into history. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and let me know what city or event you'd like to explore next.